Have you ever stopped to wonder about a country who spends $20 billion on military, who has about 200 so-called nukes, who steals U.S. military secrets, and the U.S. calls them their best friends? Kind of psychopaths run the U.S. government. But besides all that, you ever wonder about how a country that spends $20 billion and gets all this aid from the U.S. and other countries militarily, and they always have to, bomb Gaza or bomb Syria? And I've said this before in other videos, but I want to make a point of it. So if you know anything about the occult, and I really don't like to call it the occult because that means hidden knowledge. If you know anything about Baal or Baal, however you want to pronounce it, I really don't give a shit how you do, because it's just a demon, and it doesn't really deserve the honor of you even pronouncing its name correctly. Well, it requires sacrifice by fire. The sacrifice is all the time, sometimes more than others, depending on what the desired item or event or outcome the worshippers. And the Canaanite word for Baal worship is Israelites. Israel is the Canaanite word for Saturn. Saturn is the planet where Baal supposedly came from. In any event, my point is that Hamas is actually an Israeli asset. When Israel needs to make some sacrifices by fire, they tell Hamas to fire a few rockets at nothing, so it doesn't damage anything in Israel. They lob a few firecrackers over, and then Israel can do this. And if you ever notice, there's always children. That's what gets me about the world and the fake UN and, of course, Rockefeller and the Rothschilds. Really, if you visualize those people dying, I don't really think that would be a sin, because they're evil. But I digress. But if you ever notice, and if you haven't noticed, go back and notice, and start to notice. The fire. There's always children being killed by Israel, and no one says anything. And these are sacrifices to their god Baal. And the reason why YouTube and Facebook and all the social media are silencing speech is because the more people speak out about it, means that it's going to cause it to stop. So if you want the sacrifice by fire to stop, keep speaking about it. They take your video down, make it a little extra longer at the end, and then just chop off and then repost it. It beats the algorithm, because the algorithm isn't a human. It doesn't listen to the whole thing. It just checks the length of it, it checks the title, and just repost it under a different title. Just like I said, evil never sleeps. the good in the world has to learn not to sleep. Have to learn not to give up, not to sleep, and not to rest. Because that, right now, is what it's going to take to turn this whole thing around. This earth is a beautiful, wonderful gift from the Creator. I personally call them my heavenly parents, because I believe it takes two to create life. But whatever you believe, this world is one beautiful place. And we humans here are here to take care of it. We should be taking care of the animals. We should be taking care of the land. We should be taking care of our minds. And the frequencies I talk about will open up your minds. You'll be able to use more than 5% or 10% of your brain and do math problems. And this is one of the keys to keep your mind sharp, even if it's addition. It's very amazing. Even if you just write down 2 + 2 or do multiplication tables, even if you know them very well and you just write them down, it just feeds your mind. It's like giving your mind a shot of adrenaline. Just try it. It's just kind of weird, but it's cool. But anyways, my point to this video, before I start rambling, is that just notice. Somebody who spends $20 billion could have wiped out Gaza by now. And no one would say anything, because they don't say anything now. I mean, no one by the people who are supposed to be stopping this, like the UN and other countries. But they don't. It's because Hamas is told to lob some firecrackers so Israel can get in their sacrifices. Syria is just a victim of the gang up, because Syria is the true, quote-unquote, Israel that they talk about in the Bible. But the real name was never really Israel in the first place. And that's a discussion for another time. All right, people. The good people, the good souls, no matter your religious belief, we must unite under one belief, that we all have the right to exist. And think about it. One day in June at 3 o'clock, 1 billion people step outside to show our unity. Would scare the hell out of them.